I actually don't think I have seen that one in a while. I feel like the Chinese are mainly only coming out on Altai at the moment, so quite excited to see what Casper has in mind, because although this used to be more of a kind of expected thing, I think maybe if you go back to earlier this year, you see, you know, your Linux, Casper, like playing a lot of Chinese here, kind of fell off, surprisingly enough. Cool to see it come back, especially when it's not up against someone like the French. Instead, we're going to get the Mongols. Actually, it feels like a blast from the past in a lot of ways. And speaking of blasts from the past, you guys might not be too familiar with ZG Light. ZG Light is a guy that plays a lot of AoE. He grinded his ass off trying to make it as a pro player. I don't know if he's still going for that or if it's more kind of casual play now. But he had a few decent runs. Never really was able to make the day twos when it comes to qualifiers and whatnot. But is a fairly capable player. But he's going to be up against Casper. Casper, who is looking on fire right now. This guy is easily, I'd say, top 12. And this guy, by the way, for those who don't actually follow the road to Wololo, has qualified for Wololo, for the biggest LAN in Age of Empires history. So congrats to him again. Really impressive the way he's able to do that. Was able to make it off of weekly points in the end. I know he's very happy about that. I think Kaz is easily, I think in this tournament he could end up earning more than he has in his career so far. And I know it means a lot to him, because for those who don't know, Casper tried to go full-time as a pro player in AoE2 about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And then he transitioned to AoE4 full-time. Really took a big gamble with that, but I'm glad to see it paying off for him. Very talented player, very enjoyable player, and a lovely member of the community. Let's see how lovely these Chinese is going to be. So, of course, with the Chinese, you always want to go straight out to that mill, drop your sheep over there, and start gathering. There is a risk associated with this, mind you, and that is that if you're up against a Mongol player, there could be an outpost rush. That outpost rush feels like it's going to be a little bit delayed out of ZG, though. You can see the racks now being built up, but not exactly quick. And this means that Casper could probably get the wood required to have a response if he feels threatened about that outpost rush. Have to see. For the moment, he isn't gathering additional wood, but instead, probably looking for the quick tech up timing. Now, if you're fast enough for this, the cool thing you can do, you can drop a Barbican right here. I actually think this is incredibly high-value Barbican. Secure both your golds, secure the deer stack, and stone is also recluse behind this, so it's very difficult for ZG to get in and get impact out of an outpost rush. Typically, when you're playing the Mongols right now, it's not even about an outright blitz of outposts. Usually, you're looking for one, possibly two max to block out key resources to a point that annoys your opponent but doesn't force them to overreact. By overreact, I mean pull the villagers. Big shout out to Mr. I've kind of explained this logic behind it. At the highest level, if a player sees that you're going to block out his only way of playing the game, he's going to rush you with all the villagers, and you get zero value from that, truly, as a Mongol player. If you take out an element that doesn't completely destroy his game, but destroys the optimization of his game, it's a different matter, because then they read it as, I still have something to play towards. I still have a way of utilizing this game. And actually, the value of like reclaiming that 10% or 20% you've taken away isn't worth the all-in. Outposts like this, though, will force a reaction out of Casper. Tech up's ready. See if he goes for it. There's plenty of sheep in this area. It's only 2 spears, and it's going to be a very defensive Barbican. I expected him to drop it on the north side of this, or west side rather, of this berry patch, but no. So that'll be over here. This Barbican, by the way, probably built up quicker than the outpost, or close to. Tough right now for Casper, because he's allowing this to go up. Really shouldn't be, though. Yeah, he's going to beat it. So once he beats it, this village is going to be in range. In fact, ZG, if he wants any chance to get this outpost up, needs to cancel it and back away. And he realizes, there we go. So we'll back up a little bit. This one's more sensible. Blocks out both golds. Casper's unlikely to overreact to this outpost, because this outpost, while gold is a really important element for the Chinese, usually most Chinese players are going to prioritize their stone and their wood. And the cool thing is, via those, you can get enough taxation to get your Imperial Academy. And then you can just boom up in feudal in the meantime. But it looks like actually Casper says, no, 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 no. I'm not even going to allow that. Straight in he goes, shivs out. And ZG, oh no, he had them on stand ground. Oh, I feel for him. Poor lad. Plan has gone belly up instantly. So Casper will get his gold. Now this means he can get an even better timing. So not even that chip away him, 10, 20% loss or whatever have you. He's got full access. Really important for him, means he can get to an Imperial Academy fast. The reason why getting an Imperial Academy is so crucial now, like quickly getting one rather, is that you can build your officials out of it. This saves you losing out on villager production as you build up your Imperial official force. So much better situation for Casper here. I mean, maybe underestimated. I don't think it's like 10% or 20% loss. It's more like 30, 35%, maybe 40% loss by having this outpost go up. It sets you back so far because you'd have to stay on one Imperial official or you'd be sacrificing to build the additionals. And taxation isn't going to get you there quick without Imperial Academy. In the meantime, Double Scout just being a nuisance back at home. Does force ZG's response. ZG is at least moving up with the Deer Stone, but Casper has to be feeling a lot more content about the game as it stands. Hasn't gone on to the stone just yet. He wants to get access to the Song Dynasty. And that's when you'll see him switch over. That's when you'll see him actually start to dip in for the secondary TC, because once you have Song Dynasty, you're essentially at free TC as the Chinese. That's definitely going to put ZG on the clock. He'll have a choice to make. Either feudal all in, or look for Castle Age and try to punish while Casper's trying to reach it still. I feel like this type of matchup, the Castle Age rush is pretty effective with Lancers, but you are going to be diving one of the most difficult civs to do so. The reason being is that, you know, you've got these heavily armored knights with the Chinese. As you can see, the hand cannon slits do 25 damage each, and they're condensed with, right now, a TC plus a Barbican and probably a third TC coming in. So it might be to ZG's benefit to go castle, play relics, and try to get a siege force to blitz the base. I don't necessarily think like mass lancers is good, but 3 to 4 lancers can work. But you are looking for probably a conversion point around 20, 21 minutes, where you're sitting outside your opponent's base with 1 or 2 outposts. You've got your trebuchets starting to build up, and you have a composite of crossbows to defend with. Ah, yes, thank you. Cool. Second TC not shooting hand cannons. Did they change that? I'm trying to remember if it was ever that way. I thought it used to be if you garrisoned, your second TC would. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was like super early days and they tweaked it. Okay, scrap what I said. ZG has a different way. I have to keep reminding myself this is a thing. I'm always happy when I see it, kind of excited when I see it. It's going to be the secondary TC play out of ZG on the deer stack as well, which means that he doesn't have to rush towards pastures. This actually might be a better choice. He's lacking sheep long term, so rushing castle doesn't really feel like an option. This insulates you. It covers your gold. It allows you to get the deer safely. Gives you a secondary Uvu layer. It's going to delay your castle timing. But realistically, with limited access to safe food, what would you have done with that castle timing anyway? You would have arrived and needed more pastures. This probably is a better choice. Meantime, though, of course, Casper getting the maximum impact from that secondary TC. Now, basically at 3 TCs of the Chinese. We have to look at the layout of food right now. South side, double deer stack close together. If Kaz gets some sort of defense in this area, easy takings. Walling it might be difficult because of how wide it is, though. So there is still an opportunity to pinch here for ZG. Casper's going to have to make a choice whether he wants to try and play condensed with farms quickly or if he's going to greedily play for those deer. Typically, Chinese players will play for the deer simply because they have disposable villager force because of how many they build. Love this choice to go archery range as well. If ZG doesn't want to rush castle, you can get some value out of this. He'll probably build 3 or 4 Chugenu to keep his opponent at bay. And he'll go scouting for aggression. I hope Casper isn't thinking of massing like 10 to 15 of these Chugenu, because they will lose to the timing for ZG. You saw he reinvested for the moment, but realistically, he could easily go for castle. Wow, actually, he's going for horseman. Now, I think horseman's kind of a conundrum because in the mid-map, it keeps Chuganu away, but at home when they're defending, it's very difficult for horsemen to overwhelm because those static defenses we talked about and the choke points. Choke points are king here, right? If you guys want to know how you beat horsemen when they're harassing you, it's kind of weird. You have to have a stacked base. When you create a base like this with all these crossroads, it minimizes the amount of melee damage that can be done to a range ball. So if Chuganu get dove by, let's say, 20 horsemen, and there's 15 of them in this choke point, they're going to get attacked by maybe a third of that because there's limited access points. And they're also going to spend a lot of time idling, running, or not idling, but wasting time running around these buildings to reach the Chuganu. However, if Casper does play out of his base, it's going to be a different matter. That's where ZG can really dominate the fights, especially with this choice of the outpost. I love this. This is something that I think a lot of Mongol players are starting to sleep on. If you have mid-map power, utilize it and embolden it. Outposts do that via the Yam. I'm kind of losing count at the moment of the amount of times where I'll see a Mongol players kind of give a mid-map aggression and they slow position themselves. They roll out with, say, like a bunch of men-at-arms. They get in position, and then they realize the fight is bad, they have no way to back away. Or they realize the fight is good, but they have no way of getting on top and punishing their opponent. That is where Yam changes the battlefield. Of course, one of the big tough issues is the extra 15 seconds you now have to take to build these up. I think that's one of the big things that was a conundrum for people and why you don't see it as frequently anymore. But still, if you can, you should be getting it. ZG right now is getting someone else. Step read out. On his way up. Meanwhile, Casper continuing the greed. A lot of Chuginu, spears as well as Rams. Looks like he's getting aggressive now, but he's suddenly on the clock. ZG can start to get the quality. Men-at-arms being built. No Lancers. I actually like this attempt, or this approach rather. You have Yam. Maybe you can defend it in time. Your opponent doesn't have any armor piercers right now. Going Lancers, you're going to have to take a direct fight, so you'd be fighting the spears. And as it stands at the moment, your opponent is condensed. Also, he's investing a lot to extend out onto these deer stacks now. Double outpost coming out from Kaz. This is the right approach to this, but it doesn't feel good to have to build outposts like this. I know Casper loves his outposts, but this isn't the way he usually has to build them. He's forced to either way, though. Just too paranoid about the potential for Lancers to raid through. Especially when he sees Horsemen, so he knows that there is a potential for those Lancers. Outpost, in the meantime, is going to be going down, so no real attempt to defend it, as he realizes he'd be overwhelmed. First Lancers are going to hit the field. Alongside the men-at-arms. 4 men-at-arms, 2 Lancers, 4 Horsemen. It wouldn't be the cleanest fight. If he waits until additional men-at-arms, say up to 6, I think it becomes a quite clear wash in favor of ZG. We have to remember that at the same time, Casper is increasing his numbers, and he's supervising it. Wow. Okay, this is kind of reaching a point of inefficiency for Kaz. He's not producing out of these regularly, and he's supervising the whole time. This is one of those tough parts that, like, you have to ingrain it into your soul because it's muscle memory to a high extent. Supervising and then running out of resources screws you hard. You need to remember that you're still supervising and switch. Right now, Casper is being suboptimal with 2 of his 4 Imperial officials. And they have uses, by the way. They could be supervising the mill. They could also be supervising the gold. Meanwhile, dive in. Horsemen and spears, they get in. And Casper, slow to react here, but with 3 outposts, made that 4. There's definitely enough room here for everyone. He's going to idle them out a little bit, but a lot of damage coming out. ZG definitely being punched this. He'll wish he had the troops in the main fight, because the main fight, he's been overwhelmed. I don't know what that play was from ZG. That was way too greedy. Trying to raid like that, maybe with 1 Lancer max to force a garrison, but no more. Instead, your army gets wiped. Chugenu just turning your poor little men-at-arms into hedgehogs. The Rams now unanswered. ZG is going to be forced to pack this TC up and roll it away, and after that, probably the step read out as well. Oi, 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 ZG. Suboptimal choice to go on the raid there. Unfortunately, he shows himself on the one spot he can't even think about raiding. The quadruple outpost is too much arrow fire, as you saw. Although he's back in, being a little bit annoying for Casper, Casper's getting a lot more bang for buck out of this. And remember, he's playing as a Chinese, so he can afford to have idling villagers, or dead villagers even. This TC. If he turns around the Chuginu, it's just dead, by the way. Remember, it has no armor anymore. Yeah, watch how quickly this dies. Torches Chuginu, and even traps it next to the gold. He can do the same thing to the step readout, by the way. So if he positions himself on the southwest side, the step readout's going to pack up after the Rams do enough damage, and he can just surround it. That's going to be TC plus landmark gone. ZG has no response, and this all comes off the back of that attempted play. Love the reaction by Casper to just not react. If he went back to base, he plays into ZG's hand. By going on the offensive, realizing that ZG's pulled way too many of his troops away from the main battle, he wins this game. Now, this game isn't entirely over, but it's looking pretty hard now for ZG Light to recover. Plus side, at least, is the step readout should survive, but More men-at-arms are going to be sacrificed to keep it that way. And the Rams are going to continue to do damage. ZG. Oi, 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 oi. Casper's going to probably slow down to look for the tech up now. Confident with the damage he's done, as he should be confident. Such a healthy eco lead. 64 to 91 in favor of Casper. More buildings just being blocked out. Won't even get the Bloomery before losing the Blacksmiths. And instantly gone. I mean, honestly, folks, they never asleep on these lads. These Chuginu, in mass quantities, they turn into a battering ram on normal buildings. Against unarmored buildings, packed up. Whew. And the reason, by the way, is against normal buildings, these guys can only have their damage reduced to 1. They attack 3 times. They're 3 times as effective as other ranged units at attacking buildings. That damage becomes pure damage against packed up buildings. Even more rams from Casper. I love how he's evolved. This guy, he used to love his towers, but now he loves his rams. He's got to be loving how comfortable this game looks for him. Stables also to be cleaned up. And ZG, the Mangonel, maybe his one saving grace here. The only thing he's got going his way. Ooh, Casper. Okay, he didn't stagger full, mate. He's going to push out on this, though. Sees an opportunity to take the Mangonel. Sees an opportunity to take the villagers as well. The repair crew coming out, but the Chuginu can still target in the meantime. And Rams also taking down the infrastructure. So, yeah, Casper's army's going to get cleaned up. But ZG is paying a mighty high price here. In villages, in idle eco, in buildings, in everything. Oi, oi, oi. Good recovery there. ZG stays alive. By the skin of his teeth. Courtesy of this Mangonel, but the price is most definitely high. Rams will be cleaned up. Casper maybe going a little bit overkill with the extra 2 Rams, but doesn't matter for him. He forced a lot more out of ZG, and ZG now in a problematic scenario where you have too much food and gold and not enough to spend it on. Only 1 Rax. Someone's saying the logical combination of tower and ram would be a siege tower. No, maybe. But Casper likes winning games, so we'll never build a siege tower. Oi, oi, oi. Casper's going for the 3rd TC to block ZG out of gold. Now, ZG has plenty of gold in reserve, but this can turn into a proxy base fast. This is... I mean, this almost feels like, I don't want to say a BM, it's just this is how far ahead Casper is. He can do this. He can get away with it. Oh my god, and CG Light. It doesn't feel mean to say he's holding on to this game by a Mangonel. The Mangonel is the reason he survived first, the reason he can keep pushing Casper away, but keep in mind that that is not going to last indefinitely. Casper is, of course, in the middle of a farm transition, but after that, it's going to be the premium units. In fact, for now, he's pushing even more Chuginu. Good reason as well. I mean, they are effective in mass quantities, even against Siege. Once again, compared to other units, it's 3 times the damage. It sounds crazy to say, but look at the health on a Mangonel. 140. If I have, what, 50 Chuginu, your Mangonel's instantly done. Now, that's a bit excessive. You won't get that high. But the point is that they actually contribute decent damage into the main fight. Let's say you have a Springald as well. It's even better. Springald almost kills the Mangonel. The Chuginu can quickly finish it off. You might take a little bit of damage on the entry, but the point is that this is a fairly flexible unit, considering that it will still be decent against the men-at-arms in quantities. Especially if ZG cannot get the Yam online, which so far seems like it's impossible to do. And this is why Casper went for this TC drop, by the way. Moves out onto the stone. He wants to go for a keep drop right in the main base of GG. Now, of course, you can't move away as the Mongols, but there's not much left for you to retreat towards, as you're already more or less in the corner. Speaking of a different corner, CG retreating to the south. Realizes he just can't take these fights. I mean, mass men-at-arms seems like a good idea until you realize you have no solution to the DPS. Sure, you're tanky, but when you consider that Casper has the ability to fight with double the amount of units, right? Because that's what's happening here. As you spread out in the melee mosh pit, a lot of your men-at-arms are idling before they're attacking. These Chuginu are not. they're insta-attacking. ZG, to his credit, is buying time, but what he doesn't realize is what could be coming next from the other side. It's going to be a defensive keep from Casper, but this can escalate quickly. His men-at-arms have to be addressed, of course, because they are going to make their way into the economy, but sadly for them, there's so many troops chasing them, they can't even stop off to idle any of Casper's eco. Kaz should feel very content about this game. There's big problems down the line for ZG. Only has one wood line. Has a looming threat of a secondary base nearby. Not to mention the Zerg factor that's going to be coming his way. Military Academy is being prepped. Kazza is already pop-capped. Really just needs to peel off and go for the main fight now, and I think he realizes it. Too much time being wasted chasing after these MAA. Why waste time here when you can waste time in your opponent's base? Spears. Stand their ground against the horsemen. Which means that the nest of bees is going to be safe. Wolves looking to go up, but Casper, whoops. Have to wait for the Chuginu. Nest of bees damage. Definitely adding up there. Villagers will be pulled to deal with the mangoes. That is a sad way to lose your siege. And you will lose it, by the way. There's no way you keep it alive. One MAA. I don't think it's going to be quick enough. Not with the textiles there on the villies. Pull back. One Mangonel down. Probably a second one to fall. He'll go for a Hail Mary shot. Nice side step by Casper. Somewhat minimizes the damage. We'll just keep pursuing in. Needs to get on top of this Mangonel, and we'll do exactly that. Too close for a shot. Love this maneuver. Remember what we said. Chuginu, 3 times as effective against Mangoes than other arranged units at this stage. Meanwhile, north side, ZG, he's not even going to get through the keep. Oh, this is just a waste of Rabs. This hurts me right in the wood. No, I didn't mean it like that, but it's so true. Like, if he's running out of wood, he's gone 3 TCs as well, so he's going to run out of wood. And these Rams are just being thrown away, essentially. Man. What I want you to think about, folks, is that the cost of that Ram investment, that could have been another Mango, which probably would have done more for you here. I mean, it's definitely doing more against the keep, because eventually it's going to kill it, right? Survive in the meantime, but it's a heavy commitment for ZG, especially considering there is now hot oil in play. Hot boiling oil. She's going to feel the pain of. And keep in mind, while he takes a bad fight here, Casper's coming for his base. I think ZG got way too tunnel visioned on this keep. Now he might pay the ultimate price. The amount of men-at-arms you're sacrificing just to get through this thing means you're not going to have enough troops necessary to defend yourself. Kaz on his way up now into Imperial Age with the Ford Great Wall Gatehouse. He's going to continue to box you in even if the keep goes down. It's not going down easily. Villagers committing to keep this alive. They'll be able to do so as the Rams will be disposed of by the spears. And ZG, man, I feel like he's just felt one step behind this. The raid on the south side buys him a lot of time, but after that, it just feels like the way he's trying to respond to Casper's moves, re-controlling the north side, maybe not the best way to approach this. ZG probably needed a double down in the south to obtain these wood lines and gold long term, as well as sacred sites, but instead, tunnels over this TC and this keep, and loses a key army. And now Casper, he might not end games in 10 minutes like this, but he likes to stick to his signature. The way he's going to end this game is by outpost spamming the crap out of his opponent's base. These prayer tents, oh good lord, they can't even run away. I think ZG's done at this point. Mango shot. Nope. Those men-at-arms will buy a little bit of time, but not enough to keep this one alive. So Mango still goes down. Outpost will go up. Cannon emplacements are coming through. And Casper says, why don't you just say the magic words? If you want it to stop, type GG and wave bye-bye. I mean, he's losing the spears at this stage. There's just so many spears. They're not even upgraded yet. They're veterans. Really cool play out, Casper, though. Love the way he understood that he could utilize Chuginu in this game. So many Chinese players would play Ultra Greed after they saw a Mongol player fail his outpost rush, but not Casper. He understood that ZG was not investing enough into aggression. He must have been doing something else. And he snitches on it. He catches him in the middle of his greed. And ZG, key moment here was when he actually went ahead and raided this deer patch down here. That moment gave Casper all the fuel he needed to bomb the fire.